going to get loud, then it's going to get soft. Alright? Can't ask that you use the phone for a reference. Because you're probably going to need it.
Say that again.
Use your phone for a reference. You know what I mean?
Of course, other than that, if I didn't use it, I would just say, well, I have to get back to you on that. I would never just give an answer that I don't know about. Because that's something that all Israelites will do. They either going to talk about something that they know about, show you facts of what they know about, or they just going to say, man, well, then I'm going to have to get back to you on that. That's something I don't know about. Other than that, I will find myself freestyling. That was outside.
Yeah.
Oh,
I didn't have the door. Yeah, maybe that was a bad idea.
I'm like, damn, that one was kind of loud.
I didn't open the screen door, so there's one.
Right. I know for now though, I'm about to put this on the charger. I ain't even gonna use it for now. You know, I'm pretty like, especially with most of the stuff that I have to speak.
So what you gonna use for a reference?
About black and all that. I won't really have to use too much of nothing. Just common sense for those that have read and heard scriptures gonna know about black. I could pull out some of that on the scripture though with no problem.
Okay. Well, you know, there is a computer. So yeah, like, you know, I can like, yo, look up this and I'll do it. You know what I mean?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So. All right. Ooh. Lot of God. Okay. I like that. So after the chorus, I'm gonna turn it down. And we're gonna get into it. You can't smoke cigars, can you? That's what I asked. That's what I asked. That's what I asked.
No smoke. But I'm gonna let you know though, sage ain't nowhere in the scripture. When you said that, I'm like, huh? I've never read sage in the book.
No, I was trying to use it in a way where it's like what was their medicine back then? You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, like when it, you know, like
medicine was herbs.
And what's sage?
Sage is not the herb of medicine though. Like it names you what herbs for the medicine, right? But that they use it. The scriptures will give you the names for herbs. Now he said I gave you herbs for seed, right? For fruit, herbs with seed bearing its fruit is his meat onto you. Now, but herbs for medicinal purposes, it give you some scriptures, not all, going to tell you the name of the plant. Now, if sage used for medicine, what medicine is it used for?
So, what was the plant when they sacrificed the lamb or the goat, and they surrounded it in? Didn't they not grab plants? And I want to be, because certain plants have certain identities that are different from North America than from, you know, Ethiopia. You know what I mean? And because if I had to guess where the Garden of Eden was, I would guess it was somewhere around there. You know what I mean? Well, Ethiopians are Northern Africa. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. so it's very, and we might not have those plants in North America, but there's certain plants with those properties. You know what I mean? And I know from a scientific level, learning this actually detox your body. So you know what I mean. So when people use when they was using it back in the day, saying it was getting rid of the bad spirits and everything, and today's science broke down. Hey, this actually, when you burn it, it actually detox. It takes away certain type of bacteria that cause, you know what I mean, this and that. So it was understandable. Like even weed has a medical property. You know what I mean? Now, and so I respect the native culture. I just think that it wasn't meant to be smoked 5 times a day. If that makes sense, you know what I mean?
No, and I agree.
Or even 1 time a day. But like, you know what I mean? But I do believe there were ceremonies where certain things were brought to light, and when certain ceremonies was happening, you know, even though they moved in God, they said, hey, we want to bring out this, we want to bring out the wine, we want to bring out this because my daughter's getting married, or my son had his first kill, or you know what I mean? And when I say first kill, not person, but first kill, like he killed his first. He went out to the woods and he killed his first deer hunt. You know what I mean? So when I say kill, you know, and I do believe that, you know, there was, or you know, a child's being born. You know what I mean? And it's crazy because I feel like we're gonna get into this in the second part of this instead of the first part, because I'm learning more about the second child was always the blessing. Like, you know what I mean? Which is like I don't. But my goal for this show is not for that. You know what I mean? Right. But the second show where we can actually talk the talk. You know what I'm saying?
And not always the second, even sometimes the last.
The last.
But the scriptures also tell you that the last shall be first.
You know what? Well, I thought the last is like, yo, we got this. Not see, my thing is what okay.
I know, because you thinking about the scriptures that say the firstborn shall be mine and all that, right?
But now
you read the scriptures,
it's always the second born that had the light.
That had the light.
Yes.
No, but the law does say the firstborn shall be mine. You know what I mean? Be mine, redeemed by me. Yeah. But then you will see that the second child,
Jacob, Job,
David was like the 4th or 5th child. Mm-hmm. That's why I said even sometimes the last. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
It's like, you know, I must admit, I had you know, that's why that Bible's downstairs. So I was reading, you know what I mean? And I remember that the Songs of Solomon is not in that motherfucking book.
It's not in there?
No, it's the Songs of Solomon is in the Apocrypha.
No, I think that's the Wisdom of Solomon.
That's what I was looking for. Like, yeah,
Songs of Solomon has to be.
Yeah, Songs of Solomon.
I'm gonna say that's not in there. That Bible, boy, they really getting vicious if they took that out of there.
You know what I mean? Yeah. I'm thinking the Wisdom of Solomon. Because that's why I was really looking forward to try to like decipher things, and like, you know, which part 2, that's where, you know, if you don't mind me going over the Bible before we record. It's just like, because, you know, because I do want that the audience to get the understanding. But okay, we're about to start. I get in my zone. How's everybody doing out there tonight? I brought a special guest back. You know, and I feel like this is one of the most important conversations people need to have. You know, I look at the world today, and you know, I identify with the hurt. Does that make sense? And I feel like this is the conversation that people need to have an understanding. You know, to process. You know what I mean? And wherever they go with it, they should always share something. You know what I mean? Sometimes we learn from from watching our parents argue. We decipher our own rights and wrongs. You know what I mean? And I feel like this is we're not going to argue, but we're going to have differences. You know, and like I said, like before I get into this, you know what I mean? I want to break down why I chose you. Okay? And I'm not knocking nobody's hustle when I say this, right? I look and I see I feel like, you know, when it comes to religion or ways of life, and when it's questioned, or when people promote themselves or identify themselves as this, you know, if you're not a part of it, or if you don't have their level of game or knowledge, you feel it. You know what I mean? And sometimes that feeling is not a good feeling. And you know, to respect somebody for that, you know, it's very hard, because, you know, sometimes people use it in the wrong way. And I know you personally to the point where I can say, yo, you know what, man? I know of this man's journey. I went through this man on his journey, you know what I mean? He was a part of my journey, just like I was a heavy part of his journey. And he found this in a dark place, you know, and one of the only reasons why I'm willing to listen is because he's not trying to profit from it. You know what I'm saying? And like, you know, he's using it to make people profit off of him. You know what I mean? And sometimes profit is not like a monetary thing. Does that make sense?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And so,
with the exception of them profiting off of me, I'd rather them build themselves up. Right? Because when I look and see my people and the way they conducting themselves nowadays, from the rap music, from the names that we call each other, from the disrespect from the men and the women towards each other. It's a level of uplifting and healing that our community need on each other, and the lifestyles that we choosing and living in is not doing it. It's actually bringing more of a destruction to where our children are even following in the footsteps of what they see on television, what they hear in the music, and at a younger age, and it's just continued to get worse. And if you notice the killings from the young men on a regular basis, it's at an astronomical high, especially at this day and time and age. And then the things that the young ladies are doing to themselves and not carrying themselves as ladies, bro, as harlots. You know what I mean? As prostitutes, as whores. It's just selling their bodies and cleavage out and anything for TikTok and you know, YouTube and likes. It's all about selling and glamour at the exposure of your body. And there's no level of care of oneself behind that.
Now, we did not live back in those times, but we are wise enough to know that was going on back in the times. You know, does that make sense?
No.
Oh, okay, bro.
No. The reason why I say that, when we read the scriptures, like you said, we didn't live back in them times. So when you read from the scriptures, and of course I'm a Hebrew Israelite, so I read the Torah, which is many call this book a Bible and labeled it religion. Mm-hmm. But when you read through this book, it's only a historical book of a people and their gods. Mm-hmm. It's never been about religion in that book. Now, you might have a religious people. That's a different word than religion. You know what I mean? It's about one's belief and to who they succumb to, who they call their deity. So when you read that book, you see a little here pieces there and there about a prostitute, as one of the brothers even went into, or Judah went into a prostitute. Okay. You'll read about that, but it's hearing about serious harlotry coming from that nation, because the book's talking about a people, a nation that had a name, again, out of religion. You don't see that, what you see what's going on right now. Okay. Not in the book, not in the scriptures.
No. I hear you, brother, right? I do. And it's going to be a tough question, but like, I want to say, at the end of the day, like, no matter how ignorant a person is or how wise a person is, I feel like sometimes it's not your fault or their fault because of what we have to use to process. Like, let me give you an example before that. Like, if my grandfather was a carpenter and my father was a carpenter, it's a good chance that I would be a carpenter. You know what I mean? And I would be a greater carpenter than them too. So with that being said, if my father was a deadbeat and my grandfather was a deadbeat, I'm going to just be more of a deadbeat. Does that make sense before I go
on? For me, I can't say that.
Okay.
And I can't say that for everybody's lives either, because everyone has a different path. Mm-hmm. Every man must work out his own salvation, right? So
I was meant to say a good chance that I would be a deadbeat.
I would say that. Okay. It's a good chance.
Yeah, let me correct myself.
Okay. Now that I could agree. Okay. I could agree.
Because, and so now when I say that, it's like that's where my understanding is. It's like, it's not your fault. Same with the mom, you know what I mean? If my mom wasn't married and my grandma wasn't married, which they both was, but like, excuse me, it's understandable why a woman is not married, especially in today's era where it's incentivized. I don't know if you agree with that, but it's incentivized for a woman to be single. You know what I'm saying? And we're going to have to go into this. We're going to go into it now, where as far as like, okay, it's the welfare system, the child support system. We're going to talk about that. You know what I mean? And so, like, and just me experience my experience, and me just watching people experience their experience, you know what I mean? Because we can get wisdom just from watching people, you know what I mean? And it makes me question, you know what I mean? Because people want people to follow this light and everything, or this greater power, you know what I mean? And it's like, and I try to tell people, just move right. You know what I mean? If you want it done to yourself, don't do it to the next person. It makes me, but like I see what's going on, and you know what I mean? And it makes me say, yo, hey, I don't think God likes black people. And because, from 400 years of suffering, and you can even go back to Africa, where it's years of suffering, and that's 400 years of suffering, because once things was monetized and, and trades was more open up, which is crazy because we was the number one. If you look at Egypt, you know what I mean, and we opened the world's trade, you know what I mean? It makes me question, like, do God like black people? Like, and, there's something that no matter where I went, you know what I mean, why I always gotta see hurt black people. You know what I'm saying? I understand, you know, and I understand other races go through hurt, but there's a difference. There's like, to me, there's there's a plan put in place that like, yo, when we think of something good and we move in something good, it gets commercialized, monetary. You know what I mean? Turn into a like, you know, no culture. You know what I mean? We're losing it to materialism. First of all, would you agree to this?
Well, no.
Okay.
No, I'm not agree to what you were saying about the Egypt and opening the trade, the world trading, because Babylon, Babylon was before Egypt.
Are you sure?
Yes. Chaldea. Abraham came from Chaldea. Matter of fact, Nimrod came from Ham. Ham had children, Canaan and all them. Cush. This is where you get the Kemetic and the Egypt. Before Egypt was Egypt, it was Mizraim. So Babylon was before them.
Where was Babylon located?
Babylon was located in a place named Chaldea, which is in the same lands over there.
Okay.
Same lands over there. There's a place named Chaldea. This is where it come from. It came from the Chaldeans. This is why when you look up the ancient languages before Hebrew and Arabic, you get the Chaldean language, right? So when you get this, you will see the travels of these people that went out. The Mizraims, the land of Canaan, is where the Egyptians built their empire after Babylon was destroyed. Babylon, you can read about this from Babylon to Timbuktu.
Okay.
From world researchers, historians.
Okay. You know, that's something I would have to get back to you on. You know, yeah, and still, you know what I mean? Like, you know, if you look at the Bible, in the history of the Bible, or the Torah, and I think it was more used against us than for us. And whether that was the original intent or not, it's like, you know, and you so if something is called, you know, the way of life, and people are using it in a way, like, cause like I really understand that I really look at this world like, hey, there's no, like, black people can't have shit. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? You can have shit on an individual level, but you really, you know, you go, you look overseas and you look at Africa. They give their money to the French, to the Spaniards, to, you know, they're storing debt to them, to the Queen. Well, you know, even though she's dead, but, like, you know, and it's like, we all know, and I hope you don't deny this, that you know, Africa has the most resources in the world, and the most powerful resources in the world, but yet it's one of the most in debt. And if you look at the history of America, you cannot argue beyond a shadow of a doubt that black people built it. You know what I mean? And you know, to be looked upon as three-fifths of a man, excuse me, and to build, you know what I mean? Because part of me believes that America is the greatest nation in the world, even though through all their hate and shit like that. But, like, you know, you know, but at the same time, it's like, for us, you know, it did more damage to us than that. And like you know, like, you're a religious man. I mean, you're a man of the word, but I also look at you as a conscious man. You know what I mean? And I understand your sources are your source. But, like, how do you look at that and say, yo, man, do you ever, like, question your faith to the point where it's just like, it shouldn't be this hard? Even when people try to move right and you know, we can blame the devil for the temptation and shit like that, but like, there's only so much we can blame entities, you know, whether people believe or not believe, for a corrupt organization. To the point where we're corrupted. Do you look at us as we're corrupted before I go on?
No, I definitely agree we're corrupted.
Okay, so like I'm just at the point, you know what I mean, where I just truly believe that God don't like black people. Like, you know, I'm there with it. Like, you know, and I try to move righteous, you know what I mean? As much as I can. You know I have my shit with me. You know what I'm saying? I do, but like I try to still be a good brother. You know what I'm saying? Like to or a good person. I thrive on my what I consider morally right as a man and move in that way. But like I also understand my opposition, and I understand how we outcast each other. You know what I mean? And I just feel like, bro, you know, even though we found each other in a hell, you know what I mean? And even though through that hell you was able to find your light, you know what I'm saying? Like, but like man to man, bro, I don't think I look at this world, and from what I read, from where we are now to where we was 400 years ago, we cannot claim the chosen people because of the damage, like, you know. And so I wouldn't, like, you know, like if I see a young person, I would try to teach him how to be a strong man, but I don't know if that's I can say move in the light of God, because then he would question, like, what have God done for me besides, you know, allow me to be born in a place where my father is not looked upon as a man, in the sense that like the organization or the nation be like, hell, hey, you know what, woman, it is better for you to be single, live in your truth, and charge that man anywhere between $5 to what, $200,000 a month for him to support you for having his child. You know what I mean? We don't even raise our kids no more. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, how would we? How can I say that is godly? You know.
Well, I'm gonna say one thing to when you said you feel like we are corrupted, right?
Mm-hmm.
Corrupted would you say that means like corrupted when you corrupt the child, you call them spoiled, right? Would you say that?
Okay.
Would you agree to that?
Okay.
So when the scriptures tell you, when the Most High Yah tells us in the scriptures, according to the Torah, to what I believe in us to come to, tells you that you are a people robbed and spoiled. You corrupted. Robbed what? For one of your nationality. Because when we came over here and our people, this is one reason why I have a real problem of our people calling ourselves black. We come over here, we wasn't black. Mm-hmm. Africans call themselves black now. They wouldn't. You ask them about who they are, they're gonna give you a tribe and a nationality.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
So the white forefathers, because I can't say all white people is wicked. You know what I mean? I'm not going to say all white people are the devil, because to an extent, when the white man brought us over as slaves, and first God did this for one.
God brought us over as slaves?
God brought us over as slaves because he arose another nation up against us, but we'll get into that.
Okay.
And this is kind of why a lot of people feel like you feel that God hates black people, right? But what I'm about to say is, people who hold on to this title black, that the white man gave us this name.
Okay.
So we robbed of this nationality, and it's kind of like when Kunta came over here as Kunta, and Massa made him call himself Toby, even though this is a fictional movie, but it still it has its sentiments built off of real content. So now when we had our nationality took off, and you're no longer grabbing yourself a nationality, you're being called a byword, and you embracing it. I'm black with power. Black lives matter. But this is not your name. It's not your nationality. So now you've been corrupted. And now you're spoiled because you're dependent on this nation. So America, everybody loves it. And so great nation that our ancestors built up.
Okay. Now, because I use the word black a lot. And the reason why I use the word black is because, it simplifies melanated, you know what I mean? To identify, us, you know what I mean? And, but I also, I want to get this thought out before. So, like, dang, you remember? All right, so I understand that, you know what I mean? And you say we use, what was part 2?
That we use the name black.
It was we use the name black, and
robbed and spoiled,
corrupted, and okay, yeah, that's what I wanted to say. Like if you look, every time you built, even in America, from Black Wall Street, Tuskegee, everything, every time you built something of ourselves, you know what I mean, and it was destroyed. People don't even understand that, like, how much property we actually own, and how much property we actually own that was actually taken from us through murder. You know what I mean? Even for Egypt to turn into Egypt, it had to be a major, genocide. China, if you look at ancient China, you know what I mean? If you see the pictures that they claim, you know what I mean, they're part of, they're more like our features than their New Age features. Same with Australia, you know what I mean? Where,
who you think built up them civilizations?
Well, I know who built them, but you know what I mean? But that's the thing, like, hey, if we built these great civilizations, I know we built these great civilizations, but like I also know that if we're going to talk about that, then we have to also realize that those people that built those great organizations, even though they was melanated, they did not move in with the Bible, the Torah, the Scripture. They did not identify that as God. Like, you know what I mean? You go to Egypt in the old dynasty. You go to I want to get this right. You go to China and their dynasties. Do you know what I mean? You go to Australia, and they wasn't called dynasties. It was called something else. And you look at the ancient artifacts there. Even now, like what's being discovered in America. With the Anunnaki statues and stuff like that. And it made me question something else too. It says, maybe 3,000 years ago, 5,000 years ago, how close was we to if not one high power, to another high power for us to, you know what I mean? And it's like I understand the corruption of Egypt with, Caesar taking over and all this other stuff. You know what I mean? Was it Caesar or Alexander the Great? It doesn't matter. I understand how, Cleopatra invested in riches and jewelry while and people were like, hey, yeah, buy this and buy this, and they stopped investing in the army because they thought they was the shit. And then while other nations was building up the army, while other nation was building up the army, they was able to take over, not through hostility, but through brute power. Like, you know what I mean? You lost this, you know what I mean? Which, they lost the war, you know. But like, if you look prior to that, like, I don't know if you know about Hannibal.
Yeah.
Okay. You know, I want to. Yeah,
of course.
And you look at Hannibal the Conqueror, who was even considered a greater conqueror than Caesar. How he dominated the world and shit like that, and so I understand that I even understand that we gave the knowledge that's taken from us to destroy us with the, you know, you can talk about the ancient Moors that came over and civilized, and you know, you talk about how Socrates and I forgot his name, but like how he learned from the Egyptians and shit like that, you know. We can get into that, but like every time I think of that, it makes me say, we was this great, we was this blessed. You know what I mean? To the point where we cannot duplicate. I think we were smarter then than we are now. You know what I'm saying? You know, and because they cannot identify the lasers in Egypt, the plumbing and with the Aztecs and the Mayans and all that. You know what I mean? They cannot identify how them people was able to do that. Like, you know what I mean? And the structure proves to be more stronger than you know what I mean? Yeah, I think with,
you know, it was a painting. It was a painting I seen, and it was so much. It made so much sense. It was a painting from the days of Egypt, but it wasn't showing the pharaohs and none of that. It was showing the so-called Hebrew Israelites. It was showing Abraham, Moses, and you know, of course, it wasn't the real pictures. It was just pictures, and then they was putting these names, and they was putting the intelligence and the things that they built under these certain civilizations that they were servants under.
Okay.
Right. And how great of intelligence it was, but the further that you went down the line, the knowledge started disappearing. As you said, you think they was more intelligent then than it is now. Again, this coming from scripture. The Most High said, "My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge, wisdom, intelligence, understanding." The further we get away from our power, it seems the dumber our people get. Hence, what we selling ourselves out for when we supposed to be a nation of kings and queens. How you gonna be a nation of king and queens? Even if you succumb to believing that you were Egyptian, royalty. You know, because most of the time our people...
Or Egyptians had slaves too, so like...
Right, know. They had slaves, but most of our people believed that, you know, when you see the paintings of when you were kings and queens, and it's mostly showing Egyptian pictures of royalty, it don't tell you that the slaves were Egyptians. You know what I mean? It show you the Egyptians were the ones with the gold. And this is why our people, most of our people like to gravitate to it. Man, we was kings, gold was powerful, then we was the empire, right? But there was a people that built this stuff up, right? And even if you don't believe in Joseph, right? Let's just say Joseph. Most books call him Zephaniah, and some try to label him Imhotep. I don't agree to the Imhotep thing, but it may be true. But Zephaniah is the name that the scriptures give us.
Okay.
And so when he went to Egypt, it wasn't during captivity. He went as a slave, as a prisoner, because he was sold into captivity by the Arabs, right? Moabites. Moabites are Arabic. Came from the line of Ishmael. So when he was sold there, and he told Pharaoh his dream, and the Pharaoh brought him out of the cells and put him in his household, and said that he will make him a Pharaoh in his land. He'll be like the Pharaoh, but he's not the Pharaoh. But he will make the decisions during this famine. This was a so-called slave that had intelligence and ran the land. That the Egyptian Pharaoh didn't know what to do during this famine. And he took care of this and lived there until his death.
Okay.
When he died, when you look at Genesis 50, right? And this is another thing why our people be like, man, but they believe that these small hats, you know, just for the safety, because, you know.
Well, now what's considered a small hat?
for the safety of your video, I will not use their names. But the small hat guys in the land that say they are the chosen people.
Yeah, okay.
Just for safety of your video, for the sake of your video, it won't get pulled. So these small hat guys that the world try to push that these are the people cannot be the people of the book. Because when Joseph was over there in Egypt in that hot sun, these people wasn't going to be surviving in that hot sun without being covered up, right? Second, when Joseph died and the children of Joseph, which was the father of the Israelites, when they asked to have a burial for their father, the Pharaoh allowed them to have a burial and gave them a burial place to bury their father because he was looked at as an Egyptian under them. You know what I mean? He took care of the land, and he was almost like Moses, raised as an Egyptian. Though he was not of that nation. He was from the line of Shem. Right? The Egyptians is from the line of Ham.
Okay. Now you're talking about after the Great Flood.
After the Great Flood.
Okay. No.
So now when he died and they had this massive funeral and the Egyptians even attended this funeral, the other nations, Canaan or Moab, all these other different nations, Hittites and Perizzites and all them, when they seen this funeral, they said the Egyptians are having a very big funeral. But it was a funeral for the Israelites. So if they thought that these Israelites was Egyptians, the common sense let you know that these Israelites had to have the same skin tone.
No. Okay, so which makes me say, and I hear that, you know what I mean, and like I said, like I'm a firm believer of we built everything, even to modern technology. I know who built the touchscreen smartphone. You know what I mean? I know who made a touchscreen.
Stop lights.
You know what I mean? Stop lights, refrigerator, telephone, whatever you want to go into. You know what I mean? And I understand, like, it turned into a corporate with patents, and whoever get the patents first, whatever, and all that other stuff. I understand that, but I'm like, yo, how come these great minds are abused so much? You know what I mean? Like, I do believe in a man should go through perseverance to become a man. You know what I mean? I don't think that any man should make his son have an easy life. Does that make sense? But we are not deciding our son's future. I don't know if you...
No, you cannot. And I agree. You cannot decide your son. You could guide him. You can even mold him and shape him. But deciding it, no. I agree.
Okay, so if we're not deciding our son's future, and we only have the grace of raising our son to the power of what the government allows. And we can even say the woman we choose to get pregnant allows. You know what I mean? Because, they've been over 90% of custody. Some people can argue that they're like, yo, hey, well, guys don't put in, but 50-50 custody. Or usually the child has to stay with the mother anyway. And I want to say this, I believe for the first 8 years, it should. You know what I mean? But I think after that, once the child has been nurtured properly, it's time for the structure. You know what I mean? But a woman's love, when a woman's loving is undeniable. But we can even look at the women and say, hey, yo, do you lose your ability to love through your ability to be free? Through a lifestyle that you're not really free. Am I making sense? Before I go.
Yeah.
Okay, so and it's destroying us. Not just destroying you, the woman, but destroying the man from developing trade and skill and structure and morals to their sons. See, I cannot blame the world for gang violence if there's no father in the house, because there's a system saying, hey, Joe, anytime things get rough, you cannot spank your child. You can, if your woman don't want to be with you, she can take your child, and there's nothing you can do about it. You know what I mean? So like I cannot blame us for falling. You know, let's just use that word. But I also say, at what point, if there's a God that loves us, how come he doesn't intervene? Like, it has to be come to a point. Like, you know what I mean? If you see your son getting jumped, you would intervene. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I just don't know that point. And I don't want to, because that's the message where I would want to say, hey, yo, I understand that you're fighting your temptations and you're becoming a boy, you know what I mean? But at what point, you know, if God loves you, he intervenes, because like there's no and I look at you like, yo, you found God in a dark place. You know what I mean? You found God in a dark place, and you chose not to like try to like profit off of how you found God. You know what I mean? You're kind of like, to me, outside looking in, like, yo, hey, I found God. Let me give it to the world. Now, let me use the fact that I found God in this knowledge to
preach and get me a lot of money
in
pulpits.
Yeah.
Give me my tithes.
You know what I mean? To profit. You know what I mean? And, you know, so I respect that.
Be a flow of dollars.
Yeah. Yeah. And like, I know you can, because, you know, you have the gift of gab, but you know what I mean? I see how you move, and you move in a moral compass. And to me, you moved in a moral compass before when I met you and everything. You know what I mean? And, but like, I would feel like I'm robbing a kid of acknowledgement if I say, hey, if you don't understand what's going on, pray about it. Because you know, I feel like prayers are not being heard.
And you would be. I agree, you would be if you just tell them, just pray about it. See, my son, for instance, my son, especially for y'all that don't know, hello, Frizz the Great. By the way, for you who don't know, I did 14 and 8. So my son was growing up without me, hearing what us Israelites call spiritual Babylon, Sodom and Gomorrah. Hence, all the laws that, you know, being passed for those that of the alphabet crew. He celebrated a lot of holidays, and things that was shown unto him from his mom, from learning over here. I didn't just tell him to pray about what was going on. You know what I mean? I started showing my son history and facts and research, and started letting him learn this stuff as soon as I came home. But all praise the Most High, this is the blessing when the man started walking and getting back in touch with the power. He said that he was going to heal his people. Do you say that God hates black people? You feel like he hates black people?
I do. I'm going to be honest.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. You feel like he hates black people. Well, again, I'm going to have to say he doesn't hate black people. Because he never named you black.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Melanated.
But he does. Well, Egyptians melanated. Hamites melanated. Africans melanated. But me and you know they are not our brothers. They will not claim you as your brother. You know that? Okay. Matter of fact, they don't even go through the same struggles when they come over here in America that we do.
Okay.
It's a difference. Mm-hmm. It's definitely a difference. This is letting you know that it's a different bloodline and it's a different people. So when the scriptures tell you, don't spare your son to rod, right? Chastise your son when he's doing wrong. Mm. So we know and believe Israelites. Yah is our father. So why we go through our chastisements for disobedience? He has stretched his hands out and pulled a people out of Egypt, out of oppression at one time. Mm-hmm. Right? And even to the fact where King David became king, mm-hmm. Solomon built them a temple, mm-hmm. and started following behind women. A lot of times our downfall also is the women. Why? Love our sisters beautiful. Mm-hmm. Matter of fact, the scriptures say he gave us the beautifulest women. And I do not deny that.
Me either. Mm-hmm.
I do not deny that. So I would say he loves so-called people of color that he chose to be his people. Because you got people of color all across the world. Mm-hmm. But we follow our women and then we followed other nations. And the things that we followed them was against the laws the Most High told us not to follow. Solomon made idols to other deities for his women. Mm-hmm. And he fell. Mm-hmm. Israel was scattered, broken up, sent into 6 different captivities in the Bible if you read about it. Mm-hmm. The Greek captivity in the New Testament is the so-called white man took out. Mm-hmm. That's why the Apocrypha took out. You can't read about the Greek captivity unless you got the Apocrypha. So you can read about it in Maccabees and Baruch and books like that. But you won't have them books if you don't do your research, right? You, being a smart man, you've been doing your research. And I still understand your stance on things. I don't blame you for it. Mm-hmm. Like, I can understand it. And this came to my knowledge when I started coming to the light. When I started coming to the light and knowing that, all these curses and the blessings of these people before in the past and these curses that's happened now and the things that happen to our people now mm-hmm. fit us to the T and no one else in the world. Mm-hmm. I said, man, I see why my people don't like God. I understood it. Mm-hmm. But then I said, my brain had to say, man, if he made all these things happen and he promised that he was going to do this to us, even after all the times that he reached out his hand and pulled us out of our captivity, mm-hmm. when he say he gonna do it again, if we just turn to him, why I can't just do it again?
Now I hear you, right? And one thing I want to say, because I don't want to, because we spoke on black women, right? And like I said, I feel like you got one of the greatest loves in the world. You know what I mean?
All praise the Most High.
And I'm a fan, Mrs. McLeod. I won't say your first name, but I am a fan. I won't say allowed, but there was a space that she did allow you to come and turn that boy into a man. You know what I mean? And a lot of men don't get that. You know what I mean? Opportunity is because, I hear you, I do, but you was able to not only raise your son, but you also putting a different structure into your wife's life. You know what I mean? Which is, I like I said, I commend that. You know what I mean? I was like, hey, what you're doing is beyond great. You know what I'm saying? Too, I want see now because there's so much you said, and I wanted to listen to everything that sometimes which is not a lot of people's circumstances. You know what I mean? And I don't know. And like I said, to me, she always been there from the wreck. You know what I mean? Because I remember coming in home right my wife. You know what I mean? Damn, I gotta put the towel up, nigga. You know what I'm saying? I remember those days. You know what I mean?
Yes, sir.
And so and like I said, I'm and I was honest. I said, damn, I wish I had somebody that to, you know what I mean, whatever. And so she always had the need for a strong black man, and you was able to do that through your words being confined. You know what I mean? Which is not a lot of people's power and shit like that. But you are also gotta understand that you was able to convince people to align. You know what I mean? Like, you know, like we said on the show before, you know, dude from Jersey, dude from New York City, dude from DC, dude from Ohio, dude from Chicago. You know what I mean? You know, one from Pittsburgh, one from Philly, one from Lancaster. You know what I'm saying? And we was able to create a brotherhood. But like, you know what I mean? So, you know, there's a blessing inside of you, you know what I mean? And I would never deny that. But like to say, hey, but to say, hey, you know, the corrupted, to bring it back to the corrupted nations and everything and oppression, right? And because I do believe these people need a miracle. That's the only way we're going to get it together. I believe a child's innocent. You know what I mean? Now, don't get me wrong. I also believe that, you know what I mean, certain children, certain babies are born with things in them that's just not fair. You know what I'm saying? And I believe now that these child's not only innocent, that they're being attacked, and you know, through medicine in the woman's womb. So not only are you innocent, you're coming into this world as a victim. Does that make sense? I don't want to, like, you know, destroy the medicine industry, but like, you know,
well, we know their medicine industry is about money. So when they give you something like the commercials, they give you something that heal this and give you 9 different ailments.
Yeah. So, you know, and oh yeah, this is what I want to say. Like you mentioned the Apocrypha. You know what I mean? And sorry if my grammar's not right, because you gotta remember, when I was reading this stuff, we didn't have Google Voice to tell us truth. So, like, you know, I would say names wrong and stuff like that, and right. Pronunciation wrong, because I just remember reading it when I read it. But yeah, I believe that the knowledge that we got now is only because the true knowledge that we need is hidden in the Vatican or wherever you want, or it's just hidden. We would never have. Believe that. You know what I mean? So therefore, it's like you ever see the man with a pole and he has a piece of candy. He's telling the kid, "Oh, you can get it. Come on, almost there."
Gotta be faster than that.
You know what I mean? Oh yeah. And you remember? Okay, exactly. And it comes to a point where, you know what I mean. You know, but when you're dealing with a man and a government, it comes to a point where it's just like, you know what I'm saying? And if you have to fight this hard, like if you're gonna use that, give me my power, give me and power. I don't mean like my authority. Give me the ability to have my power. You know, that's where I see a problem with. Where God don't love black people, because it's like, yo, hey, you're giving me these books, but you know, from a time where people was walking on water, you know what I'm saying, before bringing people back to life in ways that cannot be whatever, to the point where people was praying, to the point where they was traveling, moving mountains. You know, if you're you know what I mean, and you know, the voice was something different. You know, we read scriptures and we know that, but yet we scripture, so the other scriptures that tell us the ability to have that, it's somewhere hidden or destroyed. But I really believe it's hidden and other people have it. And I feel like, you know, there's a part of me, like if I was to die and boom, and God was to say, hey, yo, you know what, you did not move in the light like the way I told you. Like, yo, where was the instructions at? You know, you gave me this brain to process, and like you gave me this word to say you process this through this world. You know what I mean? And like I said, I do believe in the power of prayer, through traveling, to astral projecting, and everything else. So, like, you know, when I go through these deep prayers, whether through happiness or misery, or just great meditation to find myself, where was you? See, I believe there should be a route. Like, okay, you allow us to be abused, okay, because something our fathers did that, our great fathers did, but you told us to honor our fathers, you know what I mean? Where's the route? Because like the route that you gave us, that is allowed to us, and you didn't give us, that was allowed to us by the people that are oppressing us, you know what I mean? Because they did take it, and you know what I mean? Where's the route? You know what I mean? For me to tap into my greater power, or to you to tap into your greater power. Now you have a gift, you know what I mean? I would not deny that. You know, you have a family. You know what I mean? Like where you are the man of your family. After doing 15 years, you know what I'm saying? That is amazing. You know what I mean? So you know what I mean? Outside looking in, I would say you're blessed. You know what I mean? You have a wife. You got the ring and do the struggles and shit like that. But what about the dude that you know what I mean? And like you're working, you know, and you're providing all this for your kids and everything. But I know like 25-year-olds that wants the same thing without going through the whatever, and want a skill to do something beyond flipping a burger, or you know, working for pennies on a dollar. You know what I mean? It doesn't. See, I believe if you're willing to work hard, you should be able to have an affordable life. I also believe that just because you're willing to work hard, you should not have luxury. You should have stability. Am I making sense? Okay, I believe that in order for you to have luxury, you gotta have two things: the ability to work hard and the ability to be intelligent, beyond have the thought beyond the thought beyond the thought. But where's the route? You know what I mean? That's where it's like hurting me, and like I can't. I tell people, I will always encourage people to be good, but where's the route?
Well, you asked where the route. Right? Mm-hmm. I'm going to tell you, it was a route for me. Because y'all guys the step of a man.
Say that again?
Right? Y'all guys the steps of a man. Mm-hmm. My route for me was through a saint. You know who the saint is? What a saint is?
Classify that for the audience.
Well, a saint. So, you know, when we look at saints, we think of saints as like some type of angel, mystical being, and sometimes we look at saints as a righteous person. Mm. You know what I mean? But for the most part, most people look outside of another human being as being a saint. You know what I'm saying? When you look in the scriptures, right? Mm-hmm. Psalms 106:16 says they envied Moses also in the camp, some of the Israelites, because Israelites beef amongst Israelites. You know, it's just a nature of man to want and hate for someone's other's greatest position. Mm-hmm. And there was turmoil even amidst the camps. That's why you heard that we talked about that earlier. Every brother ain't your brother. Mm-hmm. Just like we say, every Israelite ain't your Israelite, because you have wicked Israelites. There's wicked beings in high spiritual places. Mm-hmm. But speaking of the saints, it said they envy Moses also in the camp. And Aaron, his brother, mm-hmm. the saint of the Lord. So we know a saint was a regular man.
You know, I read something, right? And I don't know if you know this. It said that Aaron formed the magic because now I want to get this right, because they said Moses stuttered.
Aaron formed the magic?
Well, the you know, because they was battling, You remember the battle with
the Egyptians with the snake and all that.
The wizard made two. The sorcerer, made two. Wizard, the sorcerer. It doesn't matter. Created two snakes, and then, they said, "Ha ha! What can you do? What can your God do?" And he made one big snake, and they said, "Hey, well, what the fuck is that? I mean, what the heck is that?" Man, that one. Then, as they watched, that one big snake ate them two small snakes, and he's like, "Oh, okay." So I understand the story, right? And not to throw you off the wisdom you're giving, but like I remember reading something where it was like, "Hey," and I can't remember the source, but like I remember like, and it says, why do you think Aaron was always around Moses? Because Moses received the blessing, but Aaron had the gift of gab, you know what I mean, and he was able to, so like, but go on.
Hold on, because now you talk about Aaron, and I got to give a funny story about this when I was reading about Aaron. So, and I'm pretty sure the audience will love this too, man, because this again, like I said about the funeral. Remember what I told you about the funeral when Joseph died, and the Egyptians came to Joseph's funeral, and the other inhabitants of the land thought the Egyptians was having their funeral. But it was a funeral for Joseph and the tribe of Israel, right? So these people are melanated people. They're not the small hats over there in the land. So now when you know that these people are people of color, so when Moses went up to the mountain to get the tablets with the Most High, right? When he was gone, and the people just freshly came out of the land of Egypt, they used to living like Egyptians. They used to, even though they was under taskmasters and slaves, only for 80 years for one, not for 400. They dwelt in the land for 400, but they were slaves only 80 years because a quick story about that. When Moses was born, and his mother hid him in the pitch in the boat, and the daughter took Moses and was raised as an Egyptian. That's when slavery happened. When at his birth, slavery happened then, and it tells you in the scripture that's when Pharaoh said, "Hey man, these Hebrews is growing too much. They gonna join our enemies around us." When you was talking about the enemies that came on Egypt and Egypt fell, he said the enemies is going around us, and these Hebrews might join our enemies.
Okay.
So they started trying to kill all the firstborns.
Okay.
This is why Moses' mom hid him in a boat, sent him down the water, and then Pharaoh's daughter happened to get Moses, bring him and raise him as his own child. So slavery was going on then during that birth. Moses brought the children out at 80 years old. So that slavery was only 80 years old. So when the false pastors and teachers, pork chop jakes and all of them tell people that the slavery was back then, we don't know what these so-called slave ship Israelites talking about. No, you don't know what you're talking about while you're reading that book. If you was reading, you would know slavery was only 80 years from Moses' birth to when he left, when he took the children out. They sojourned in the land for 400 plus years, but the slavery didn't start until the birth of Moses. And that's scripture, and we can pull that out later if you want to see it. But now the funny story about when Moses went on the mountain to get the tablets written by the finger of Yah to bring the law down to the children of Israel. And while he was on the mountain, and the Hebrew Israelites, the Hebrews was down there harassing Aaron about, "Listen, man, we trying to have a party. We like to party, man." They was used to worshiping the calf and all that and stuff in Egypt. Man, we like to party, man. What's up, man? When you gonna get the food and the drinks? Aaron's scared because he got a mob of people, and Moses was like the controller. You know what I mean? They listened because he spoke to God. He spoke to Yah. Aaron said, "Man, yo, get all y'all gold, man. Give me this gold, man." Melted it in the fire, shaped up a calf. They having a party, they drinking, they probably having sexual parties and all type of stuff around there. Moses come down the hill, he see the joint, he like, yo, he know y'all gonna be mad, man. He throw the tablets down. Man, what the hell is y'all doing? Man, don't y'all know who I'm talking to, and y'all down here having a party? Aaron, man, what's going on? And man, I don't know, man. They gave me the gold, and I threw it in the fire, and the calf jumped out. He said a calf jumped out. Ain't that just like a so-called nigga? You don't want to tell the truth that you melted the gold, shaped it up, You tell Moses, man, I just took the gold, threw it in the fire, and the calf jumped out. Well, poof, magic. You don't want to take the weight and the blame of this.
You know, I from what I remember reading, I believe Moses was the militant one, and Aaron had the tongue. You know what I mean?
He did. And see, that was the gift of Gad, right? Yeah. I ain't about to hold his weight.
But that, no. But you know what I mean? Like, okay.
I ain't gonna hold his weight.
Okay. But you know, that's a good point. You know what I mean? Is there anything else you'd like to say before?
We was just before I went into that story, we was talking about the saint, right?
Yes.
So the saint. So for me, a saint. Y'all guys are man steps. When I had ended up in Fort Dix, I was walking past his brother. Brother got to be like 6'7". But her face looked familiar. I'm getting ready to go to my cell, get my room right, get my bunk right and all that.
Your bunk wasn't right in the beginning?
No, cause I just got to Fort Dix.
Okay.
I gotta go, make my bed, put my stuff in my locker and all that. Talking about my bunk wasn't right. So anyway, this giant walks past me. I look at his face. Long, thick locks. Like, man, dang, this dude face look familiar, but I don't know nobody that's 6'7", man. This dude like a football player. And I'm getting down the hall, and he called me by my government. So I'm like, yo, this is this dude. So I called him by his government. He like, yo, we both, hug each other. I'm like, yo, man, you grew into a giant. When I see him, this is a kid I used to live in St. Simon with. Dude was only probably, because I'm older than him. So he was shorter than me. Last time I seen him. Now the dude is a giant.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yo. Gold gun buster. Wild boy, as I knew him and heard about him on the streets. Even though I ain't seen him in a while, I heard about him. And so, I'm still into my wickedness. I'm about to go smoke me some weed after I make my own bed up and all that. Get me some weed in the block. Go to the bathroom, about to light up. And he said, yo, man, when you get through doing that, man, come and holler at me. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to come holler at you. Walk past the TV room, tell him I'm going to come holler at you. When I come back to the TV room, he got the Bible on the table. He's like, yo, man, what you know about this? I said, man, my mom went to church, man, for years. Worked her butt off, praying and hooting and hollering and catching the Holy Ghost and all that, man. She had a decent time for a while, man. It was work that Kodak and all that, but she lost all that.
I remember you telling me that.
Had a mental breakdown and everything. I've been left the churches though, because I remember as a young kid, I remember something wasn't right about the way the church was acting as compared to what I'm reading from this book.
Okay.
And then I'm looking at this white dude with the holes in his hand and the fire heart on his chest, painting in the churches. And I remember reading somewhere in the scriptures until I know where it's at now. But I remembered as a kid when I read, I said, man, this sounds like this describing a black guy. Why the church has got a white dude up here? I stopped going. I didn't care if my mom was trying to, if I was getting a butt whooping. I'm not going to church. And I stopped going. I stopped believing in that book. And so when he asked me that, I said, man, that's the white man book, man.
You know when I first realized Jesus was black?
When?
Denzel Washington.
Oh, yeah? Oh, man.
Oh, man.
Listen.
That's...
But, not to get away from it.
Okay.
He said, man, where you get that from? And then he started showing me stuff like I talked about with Joseph dying, and maybe use my brain. Like, damn, when Joseph died, he was in Egypt. And people probably was black. Then when he showed me about leprosy and a disease, and you couldn't be in the camp if you had long blonde hair. Then long blonde hair, I'm like, man, he said, who be having blonde hair? I said, I ain't never seen no brothers with blonde hair unless they dyed it. I said, okay, that's telling me one thing. Then when he said Moses lifted his hand up and showed a miracle and his hand turned white, what color was it before it turned white? And I said, damn, these are simple questions. And my brain, he's like, yo, you ain't had these things because y'all said I'm going to have my people sleep for a while. It's time for us to wake up out of this slumber. And then he took me to Daniel. and was talking about the feet and how it was like it was burnt in the oven. And then he took me to Solomon, how he said, I am black and not because the sun. I said, yo, how I missed all these scriptures? And it's too many scriptures that tell you in there that these people is black. And I said, well, they colored anyway. And I said, wow. And when he told me that, I said, man, yo, I'm about to come down and start studying with you. That was my saint. That was my route. That was my road to start showing me. And then what happened is it was for me to put in that work. And accept it or reject it.
You know, I am a firm believer that, you know, we find our light in our darkest time. You know what I mean? That's where I found my light at. Thanks to guys like you and people I was incarcerated. You know what I mean? Like, you know, we find, but like, you know, part 2, we gotta want to bring out the Bible. You know what I mean?
Right.
You know what I mean? Right. We're going to get deep into it. You know what I mean? Because you know we're going to use scripture because I know stories, but like now I have to do more and more research, and that, you know, that's part of the reason why, you know, it was late today, because 4:00 in the morning I was reading scriptures and everything. So right. You know what I mean? And I wanted to speak with a level of intelligence. You know what I mean? You know, I thank you for this conversation, because I feel like this is one of the most important conversations people need to have. You know what I mean? And you know, understanding. You know what I mean? Where people can decipher. You know, and find truth, whether, you know, or just see. You know what I mean? Things in a different perspective. Like I said, you know. I hate to say it, but we're a fatherless nation right now. You know what I mean? You know,
absolutely.
And I'm not saying the devil's winning. You know what I mean? But like, you know, because part 2, we're really going to get into it. Like, you know what I mean? So, but like, once again, bro, thanks for this conversation.
Yes,
you know what I mean?
Must oblige.
You know what I mean? I think that, you know, like I said, I hope, you know, this is for the audience. This is for the, hey, yo, we you know, at least I'd rather see, this is part of the reason why I want to show. I'd rather see people have these type of conversations than who's the best rapper. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, and thank goodness since you've been here, we ain't talked about who's the best rapper.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
We never had that conversation.
Never. I used to hate that when dudes do that, man. Listen, I ain't into that, even though I did like my rap back then. But now, I couldn't even be in that conversation because I don't even know who the rappers is today.
It's hard for me too. Like,
right.
Yo, I'm like, I feel like I'm unrelatable to people now because like my music selection is that of an era where, like, if they ain't singing about love.
Well, I ain't gonna lie to you. This beat, even though I don't, you know, succumb to what they rapping with, this beat kind of take me back to some of the good music, and I can understand what he's saying. Besides this gibberish, the young boys be listening to nowadays. Like, you know, it has no substance.
Yeah.
You know, even though our music was wicked, kill and bang bang and rob and shoot, but at that time, that was in our era, in our wickedness, you know, the Tupacs, the Biggies, the Jay-Z's and all that. Even the Boosies.
I believe that.
We understood them.
Yeah, and I believe, like, you know, okay, this song, like, you know, just the chopping up, you know what I mean? It's like, you know, because when I chop it up, I really like to chop it up. But I'll also give credit to man. I think Tupac was just on. I still listen to Tupac. He was on a different caliber. You know what I mean? As far as like, because he understood both sides, and it's like, yo, before you judge me, you know, remember that when Farrakhan was speaking to Mike Wallace. I think you should keep quiet. You know what I mean?
I think I caught that.
Oh man, you got.
I think I never caught that.
Oh man, since I came home, I'm like, within the past 3 years, I've been listening to a lot of Farrakhan. You know what I mean? a lot of Martin Luther King. I still believe Martin Luther King is the greatest human that ever walked this earth. You know what I mean? You know, Jordan Peterson, all, you know, of course, Kevin Samuels. You know what I mean? I try to listen to people for moral compass. You know what I mean? But like, once again, you know, I feel like this is one of the conversations that people need to have. Besides, you know,
I know my sisters ain't gonna like this, but the brother used to be telling the truth.
Excuse me?
I said, I know my sisters ain't gonna like this, but the brothers used to be telling the truth. The brother Kevin Samuel used to be telling the truth. You know what I mean? Just real quick, for the sisters that do whatever they want, like I showed you the video about the sister, not gonna put her on blast. But after going through all she did as she got older, and you know, putting herself out there and doing things that is not unladylike, and then regretting at her old age. This is what happens with our sisters when they start, you know, being promiscuous, and then expecting a man who may not have no kids to come and sweep them off their feet and be that knight in shining armor, but you don't know how to be a woman.
And you know, like, here's a secret. I'm about to have a young woman and an older woman on the show, and one of the things is like, yo, how can we protect you from you? And like both of them was on board. You know what I mean? One's very established. The other one, you know what I mean? She's finding her way. And, you know, it's hard for me to say fuck black women. I don't like. I can love you without condoning the divaisms. Does that make sense? Yeah. I don't condone women acting like divas. They're the most unattractive thing in the motherfucking world to me. Yeah, so like that's going. I don't want to speak on it now, but like, yeah, I definitely want to cover that. But like, you know what I mean. So
well, like you said, let's save it for part 2, man. Yeah, let's save it for part 2.
All right. Enjoy yourself. We'll want to vibe out for a little bit. Hey.